of today's workshop is about how we can actually train you to run some of these programs on the campus. How we can train the change makers on the campus, the new leaders, how we can train them better to run whatever programs they're running in a effective manner towards creating these back-end outcomes. Not for the sake of just creating a buzz. Buzz is good, spreading awareness is very good. However, it's all about creating all of this awareness, what is the outcome, what is the impact that I as an individual or I as an entrepreneur creating in the society, right? So that is the goal. So the agenda for this program would be like, first we are going to talk about what are the different kind of ESL activities, or as we call practicum now. We're going to talk about that. And secondly, we are also going to train you in how to run each of these practicum activities. So let me kind of once again tell you, this practicum is nothing but the activities or the programs that are conducted by the ESL. This year, as most of you know, that the only way of structuring the entire approach to entrepreneurship education through one piece of curriculum, that is a structured 6-semester course that most of you are undergoing. Then there is added to that there is a practicum, which is all the ESL activities in a structured manner. The only difference I would say is, I'm sure most of you are already implementing this, we are suggesting that we are recommending that you map the audience for these programs that you do. Do not do programs for the sake of doing programs, but map the right audience. For example, if awareness is what is required on your campus, there are a set of recommended activities that we are telling you to do, so that more and more students get inspired and become more aware of entrepreneurship. Then if you have students who are already toying with ideas, they're kind of trying to experiment, there are a different set of programs for them. But then if you already have students who are running ventures already, then you can't give them awareness programs, you can't give them basic programs. What they would require is more of networking, more of mentor support, more of access to funders, those kind of activities rather than training element, right? So based on this categorization of audience, we are recommending a set of programs which forms the other piece of the Wadhwani Foundation of Wadhwani way of entrepreneurship, that is the practicum, right? So today with me I have Dr. Aarti Geral, who is entrepreneurship educator. She is the person who developed the content along with the team here at the Wadhwani Foundation. She has been with Foundation over the last 13 years, one of the part of the pioneer teams here. And she has been doing a phenomenally good job in making all that we are talking about, the curriculum, the practicum and all that. You've been running the 50 rupee exercise, you have been running the idea generation workshop and all that, and that has come from Aarti and her team and her colleagues here, right? So over to you, Aarti, for today's session. Just before I hand over to Aarti, what I'd like to let all of you know is, at the end of the session, I'm going to make some very important announcements that are going to have impact on the kind of programs that you're going to do for the next 2-3 months. So please be glued to this for the next 120 minutes. And we are going to take you through a transformational journey of how we can change the e-leader who's running ESL as an organization really well, or not only that, but to actually become trainers and facilitate these programs. So over to you all.
Very good afternoon to everybody, and it's great to be with you all here today. So I will be diving directly into the training now. And if you have any questions about anything, please make note of it and probably type it in the chat window. We will be tracking all your questions throughout, and in the end of the session, we will address each and every one of them. This would help us kind of move through the training program as intended and keep up with the time. Though we would like to actually address each of your questions then and there, it may not be possible, keeping in mind this is an online program and we have a specific time window. So starting with the session objectives. As Asghar laid out rightly, we intend to actually help you understand the different audiences that we will be dealing with in an ESL, and what kind of programs you need to tailor and organize for each of these audiences, and also understand how you could do every single program that we are suggesting that you run in your ESL under these different categories of practicum, and also understand how to run some really advanced extended practicum programs such as the campus companies and the startup internships. Going to the audiences, we have 3 different kinds of audiences. So the key being the new people who are completely new to entrepreneurship and have no idea about entrepreneurship, have no idea of entrepreneurship, and also those who want to explore about entrepreneurship. Basically, it's not just not having any idea about entrepreneurship, but those who are inspired and motivated because of what your ESL is doing on campus. Next is aspiring entrepreneurs, those who are beginning to explore entrepreneurship, eventually become highly interested and want to pursue entrepreneurship as a career. And so they start participating in more serious activities such as workshops, projects, internships, and they have their own business ideas. And of course, you have your student entrepreneurs who are running their own ventures while still being on campus. So for each of these three audiences that we're describing here, we have the three different categories of programs. And those are actually the basic practicum, advanced practicum, and the extended practicum. And all of this will be run under the ambit of your ESELs. I would give you a rough idea of what are all the activities that you will be covering under this. So under basic programs, you have more of games, competitions, and in the advanced programs, you have higher intense level of competitions, workshops, and activities that involve a better understanding of entrepreneurship. And the extended practicum, as I mentioned earlier, involves the campus company and startup internship programs. And of course, for the capacity building, many of you would have attended our e-leader workshops, and we intend to build your capacity to organize and facilitate the ESEL as well as the ESEL programs and activities through this program. And I intend to actually take you through each and every activity that is listed here, along with the materials that we have already created. In the end of this program, we'll show you how to access each of these materials online. So if you have any specific issues about what I'm saying, any issue in terms of understanding or hearing what I'm saying, if you have any of those kind of technical issues, please type in the chat so we will correct it immediately. Let's get into the practicum basic programs. The first program that we suggest you run in the basic practicum is your What's My Story session. This is very similar to the entrepreneur talks that you would have already been holding on in your campuses. But What's My Story is a little bit of a twist on trying to focus more on a very informal way of sharing the story of an entrepreneur. Getting a real life entrepreneur onto your campus and trying to find out how the person really went about creating his own venture, what were the things that he had to do to start and build the company, is very often the very first activity on any campus. Okay, and the objective of this particular session is to increase awareness of entrepreneurship on campus. Very often people would be intrigued on what is this activity that's going on in campus, who is this entrepreneur, what's this, and when you say storytelling, storytelling is a very powerful medium, and very often people get attracted to this easily, and this story telling session would attract people who are not exposed to entrepreneurship, first of all, to be interested in it and get to know what's going on. Next, you'll be able to inspire ESEL members who are already members of the ESEL to be motivated to become entrepreneurs. And also, most important of all, when you hear somebody who's been there, done it, entrepreneurship becomes very relevant and accessible. And that is the idea behind structuring this activity. This activity requires that, though it's a very simple activity, it requires you start preparing at least 2 to 4 weeks before you run the program. And we have a how-to which explains how you can go about preparing for this as well as organizing this activity on campus. And if you find a lot of success in running this program on campus, you could convert this into a My Story lecture series kind of thing, My Story series. And what happens is you could do it on a weekly basis. Some ESELs are like, even mature ESELs like a Stanford venture program, they run lecture series on a continuous basis. So though your ESEL audiences become more and more serious, this will help you identify additional members on campus and take it to a larger scale, take entrepreneurship to a larger audience, and the reach better when you run this kind of inspirational activity. To make it into a lecture series, you could run it on a weekly basis, you could actually do it on a monthly basis, and continue to bring in different kinds of entrepreneurs. And that could make this activity a great success. I would like to show you how the how-to for this organization, organizing of this session is being, let me just switch to the how-to document. You're seeing a screenshot of it already. So sorry for the disturbance in the background. We have many people attending this through telephone as well as connected, and that's the disturbance. We've tried to control it right now. So here's the how-to for What's My Story session. As I said, it's based on the premise that storytelling is the most powerful medium, and when you listen to stories from entrepreneurs and understand the, their own experience of starting and building a company, and also understanding it in form of challenge rather than a very formal interaction, more of a informal interaction, this might inspire you better. So that's introduction talks about this particular aspect, and that how this could be the very first activity on a young campus. Kick off the ESL activities on a particular year, or when your ESL is very new. Talk about what are the objectives of a What's My Story session. We talk about who you should invite as a guest speaker. We'll tell you how to find the right entrepreneur for this, whether it could be an alumni database, whether it could be an institute and institute head and faculty for references, or you ask your own ESL members to identify, or check with your friends and family, or you could look at the entrepreneur network, the various entrepreneur networks that you have in your own region to identify entrepreneurs for this session. Most popular entrepreneurs will attract more crowd, and so if you're going to kick off an activity of the ESL and you want to create interest for many people and attract a larger audience, you should actually think about this. So then it's also about how to, as I was mentioning, it's about how to prepare for this event. You need to plan ahead in start, shortlist potential speakers.
Pausing the speaker for a minute. Guys, all of you who have logged in onto the phone, to the toll-free number, request all of you to please go yourselves on mute immediately. Otherwise, the other users will not be able to hear the speaker.
Okay, so as I was talking, it's about preparing for the event well in advance. For any particular event, be it a My Story session, or be it a movie screening, or anything simple that you want to do on campus, it does require planning. So that's where your role comes into play. So you need to shortlist at least 3 potential speakers, because just in case you don't have the one speaker whom you have kind of zeroed in on is not available, you always have an alternative. And create a buzz around this activity on campus. Try to create awareness about when you're conducting this activity. Try to go online, put it on your Facebook page, put posters on the foyer, put it on, put it up in the canteen walls. But most importantly, this kind of creating a buzz is important for not just this activity, but any activity that you conduct on your campus. So I wouldn't be repeating this marketing tip continuously, because this is a standard prerequisite for you to make any event successful. And then brief the participants in advance about the profile of the entrepreneur, so they can come up with better questions to ask, they will be prepared, and also brief your entrepreneur sufficiently well in advance. And once the event is done, make sure you send a thank you note. Usually we build a lot of momentum around bringing the person to the campus, we follow up a lot, we try to make it happen, and once that is done, it's very natural and the human tendency to drop the ball there. But if you intend to have a good network established and you want to bring in the same people again later on and to build more of the network, I suggest you keep in touch with the speakers that you bring onto campus. And as I was talking about earlier, we are also talking about how to, in this how to, we are talking about how we could make it into a regular series of What's a My Story series, or plan some topic-based intense topics later. So, as the awareness of the audience increases and they move on from being being at the inspirational level to actually being inspired, you could do this. Any questions on this, please reserve them and we'll talk about it later. I'll move on to the next activity, and that's the Let's Watch a Movie. More than the My Story, I'm sure this Let's Watch a Movie can be very, very exciting for students like you, and getting people onto the campus or even from nearby campuses can be very, very easy when you run a movie screening session. But when it comes to a movie screening session on entrepreneurship, you need to identify the right movie, decide on the subject, and also ensure that it kind of meets the level of your audience. You might be wondering how watching a movie might have to be mapped to the level of audience, and that's what this how-to will tell you. Just like the previous how-to which I showed you, we talk about how to prepare for the activity. Again here, the prep time should be at least 2 weeks. So you organize for the activity, market the activity, ensure you have the movie DVD in place and it's kind of glitch-free. You have set up all your logistics, and you have gone through the movie yourself first, and you have a debrief session around the movie in the end of it. So there's a lot of work, though it's just, a lot of fun. So that lot of work is what you all organizers should focus on, and the fun should all be focused for your audience. And even within that, we have given you a list of what are the different types of movies that you can, and titles of movies that you can, depending upon the level of your audience. And let me show you so you understand what I'm talking about. So here's the how-to on Let's Watch a Movie. Like you already have seen, you would have a objective session. Then we have whom to invite, including your faculty and students from different departments across the campus. You can invite anybody. This is again a motivational activity, and the people might become inspired to become part of your ESL on this single event on campus. So each of our how-tos talk about that to you and also provide you a sample agenda which you could follow to organize this event. This particular event I'm talking in terms of the Let's Watch a Movie. Other than the agenda, we also share some best practices to run the event. Based on our experiences of running these events through ESLs on various campuses globally, we have identified some best practice tips and shared those in this how-to as well. As you can see, there are some best practices for the e-leader, for the faculty organizer, for the students who are supposed to be participants of this event, and the entrepreneur. And you might be wondering where an entrepreneur comes into picture in how to Let's Watch a Movie event. And this is an optional thing that you could do. You could invite an entrepreneur to the event and ask them to share their perceptions and learning from the movie after the screening. So this will be kind of a hybrid between the My Story session or an e-talk and a movie screening. And in terms of detailed timeline perspective also, we have given you detail of information on before the event, at least 2 weeks before the event, what you need to do this event. And about 1 week before, what are the things you need to do. 3 days before the event, 1 day before the event, 2 hours before the event, and just 45 minutes before the event, what you need to do, and what you have to do as a wrap-up after the event. So this is kind of to the T is what we would say, perfectly detailed information for you to run this event with ease. So all you have to do is download this document at least 3 weeks before you plan to do such an event, go through the details and assign responsibilities among your own organizers and the core committee of the ESL and go about doing this. If you remember, I was also talking about different levels of audience and choosing movies that will be relevant to each of them. So if you have an audience which is at the introductory level, people who are very new to entrepreneurship, who just started exploring what's the ESL, there are few movies around that which is listed as an appendix in this how-to. And the level of the movie is mentioned in the last column of this. And the key learnings from each movie is also listed out. So when you run a debrief session, make sure you can kind of pinpoint these key learnings and also bring out the learnings from the audience itself through discussion. So you can have this as kind of a background guide and then use it to ensure that everybody has got the best benefit and learning from the movie. We have some movies listed under the intermediate category where you could, when some audience has already understood sufficiently about entrepreneurship and wants to go to the next step, and probably they're doing various other things through the curriculum and they have been exposed to core concepts of entrepreneurship, then they would be able to relate to these movies better. And we also have a good set of advanced movies and intermediate listed here. So you can go through the descriptions here in this list, and you're also welcome to identify more movies in these lines and the screens on your campus. This could also be a regular event, once a month. So this kind of, keeps the buzz on campus going. And it's a very, very simple event, less effort for the audience, maybe a little bit of effort for you as organizers, but it will keep the momentum of activities in the ESL going. But one key thing you need to do is not stop with just running the movie, but follow up with a discussion, either on the same day or later as a follow-up session. And prior to that, you watch the movie and ensure that this is somewhere linked to the learnings from any other course or the expectations of your audience. Another good thing you could do is also identify local movies. In your own regional dialect, you might find movies which are of entrepreneurial nature and can be connected to entrepreneurship concepts. You could go ahead and do that as well. So this is all about how to organize a movie screening on campus. This is also a motivational activity, and we hope you'll have lots of fun with this one. Having discussed some simple activities like movie screening and also My Story sessions, we are now slowly increasing the level of the basic activities also. The way we structured is like you start off with something very, very simple, increase the level of the activity, the difficulty level of the activity, as well as the learning from the activity. And you will see that throughout, as I take you to subsequent activities, the level of difficulty within basic practicum also is slightly gradually moving from less to more. This $1 venture activity is a very popular activity which you might be knowing, and Askar was mentioning about it in the beginning of this training. He was talking about the 50 rupee venture. So now that we are dealing with a global audience, we had to move our currency from rupee to dollar. So we started referring to this as a $1 venture. And this is exactly what we were doing earlier in the 50 rupee venture as well. And now we have built in some more resources around helping you who are students to be able to easily organize this on campus. Earlier we were training your own faculty to do this, and so the materials were geared towards them. And now we have structured something simple, easy and effective for you to be able to use this. The objectives of this activity is to excite students about entrepreneurship, to break the mental block that entrepreneurship is something only other people do. Because most of the time when you're listening to a story, watching a movie, you really don't know what it is to actually be an entrepreneur. But this program gives you a sense of what it is to be an entrepreneur. You can actually get into the shoes of an entrepreneur, try practicing running a venture. Even though it's going to be only for 3 hours, you end up being your own entrepreneur and dirtying your hands. And that is the key learning from this activity. And so the most important objective is to provide the experience of running a business for you all in a risk-free or the least risk environment. The materials that we'll be using for this is organizer's note and the presentation template. I will be showing this details in a while now. Just give me a second. I'm showing you the organizer note for $1 venture first. By now you're very familiar with how our how-tos are structured. We start off with what are the objectives. We talk about how long it will take. We talk about what should be the recommended structure for the activity. When do you kick it off? When do you run it? When do you prepare for presentations? When do you debrief and wrap up? And specifically, we get into details of how to actually run this activity in a step-by-step manner. We tell you how to form teams, what to make as announcements, and what are the instructions you have to give at every single step, and also how to use each of the student materials. So it's very crisp, brief, but you have everything that you need to run this activity. That's how our materials are structured. And we realize when you have long drawn guidebooks, it's very difficult for even faculty to run things like that. And so we're making it very, very simple, 2 or 3 page long organizer notes along with student handouts and any other material required for running the activity. Let me show you the student handout for this, and you will know what I'm saying is true. For the students, we just tell them what is the activity structure. We tell them what they have to do and what resources they need and what are the rules. 2 pages, simple, that's it. So you could use this to distribute to the student teams. And if any of you have already been part of this activity, I suggest that when you do a debrief session, you as e-leaders should take responsibility of ensuring you bring in the learnings that you had from the same activity into this activity. And both during the time of providing instructions, you could do that and give them some tips other than what we are already saying. All these are indicative, and anything that you want to do in addition to provide value to your participants, you're most welcome to do that. And in the debrief part also, ensure that whatever experiences that you went through are also being highlighted, and you try to bring the same kind of interaction and involvement in your participants. Having said that, we'll move to the next activity, the idea box. This is a competition. So earlier we did 2 simple activities, then we went on to a slightly difficult activity, which is the $1 venture. So students have now kind of got a sense of what is entrepreneurship, how does an entrepreneur build a venture, how is it to actually run a business, if they have some hands-on experience. And now probably we think some of you would have already started developing ideas. And therefore, we want you to voice your ideas, share your ideas with rest of your ESL members. And what better way than doing it through a competition. So that's why we have the Idea Box competition as a suggestion. It's a fun and competitive platform, and obvious from the name. It's a box. You set it up on your ESL in campus, and students drop their ideas literally into the box. So this is the starting of the activity. So post that, you screen the ideas, you try to award the best ideas, and the how to describes how you can go about running this competition, how to invite ideas, how to screen ideas, how to judge ideas, how to award the ideas. The objective, obviously, as I told you, is to inspire students to learn idea generation and generate their own original ideas, help them move to the next level from the interested to actually inspired and involved level, and motivate students who are beginning to consider entrepreneurship as a career choice to develop their ideas further. So that's the major objective behind the Idea Box competition. And we have a presentation template and a how-to as materials for this. And the duration is 3 to 4 hours for the final event. And for the entire competition to go on, there is a prep time of 2 to 4 weeks. Let me show you how the entire activity can be conducted and what we are suggesting that you do in your how-to. So this how-to talks about the goals of conducting the Idea Box competition, how the ideas will be selected. You have an option of either doing it in 2 rounds or 1 round. And where if it is a small scale of event, you want to limit it and try it out just for the first time, so you don't want to go on a large scale, you can identify a team of faculty who will be ready to judge these ideas. And there will be only 1 round of judging involved, and 3 best ideas to be chosen. The next option that you have is making it a larger scale and have 2 rounds of judging. So in the preliminary round, you'll have only 10 best ideas selected by an internal team of faculty. And in the second round, you can select top 3 winning teams who will be chosen on the basis of a presentation they make before a panel comprising of external judges who would be entrepreneurs, mentors, investors, and industry experts as judges on the panel, and they could be from your region itself. And there will be awards or prizes distributed in the grand finale. So you have this option of making it as complicated or even, I would say, interesting. The more the difficulty levels and more rounds and larger the scale, then it becomes more interesting as well. But that much, in terms of complication, it is in terms of organizing this. Whether your ESL team is ready to do it, and whether they would like to, rest of them would like to support you on doing this and do it in a large scale, or do you want to just do it in a simple, small manner? The scale of effort is going to determine the scale of the event as well in this. We are providing you the steps that you need to follow for conducting this, and irrespective of the scale, the steps involve the same. So that's another thing you must remember. Probably the only difference would be in terms of organizing more resources if you want to have a grand finale. You might have to spend more time, which is also one of the resources, to invite a second round of judging. You might have to also utilize your network, put in extra effort to bring in external judges. So depending upon these factors, you could decide your scale. And most important, if you're going to make it into a really large scale event, you will need to raise sponsors. So on this basis, you could, on all these factors, on the basis of all these factors, you could decide whether you want to do this big or small. We are saying draw a timeline, market the activity, prepare the guidelines. We have the rules and a student handout for this as well as an appendix. So you could use that. We have given you a template to create a poster. We are suggesting how you could plan your budget and sponsors if you want to do it in a bigger scale. You can think about how to evaluate the ideas. We give you guidelines for evaluating the criteria. And then we talk about what are the basic rules for being part of this competition. What should participants present to you on about their ideas? What is the format for presenting this? How you can encourage maximum participation. So every single bit of running this competition is being addressed in this how-to. We give you guidelines for external judges as well as for your internal team. We have a score sheet, and we also have a section for notes to be made by the judges. This entire material is probably the longest how-to that you will see, but it also covers all the basic material that you will need to run this competition. And if you want to get clear understanding of how to go about doing this, I suggest you take a printout of this, sit down, discuss, go through, allocate responsibilities among your core team, and then progress towards this event. But most often idea competitions bring in the best ideas, and they're very popular across the globe. That's usually the first step. And we've also noticed in the past that many ESLs want to conduct a business plan competition. We suggest you do the idea competition first before you jump into a business plan competition. So now from ideas to innovation and creativity, we have designed a game called Disrupt. Once again, a simple activity. It's an idea trigger game, and some of you might choose to do this even before you run the idea competition, which is perfectly fine. The order of how to run this and which activity to choose is all left to you. And overall, we expect you to run at least 8 activities during a year through your ESL. And we have this entire gamut of activities provided to you on a platter, and you could choose which one is the most suitable for your audience and run them. Disrupt is based on a model for creativity and innovation, and I will take you through this game pack. This has again very simple materials, just one single PDF document which has the entire instructions and the materials that you need to use for the game pack. So here it is, Disrupt. This game brings out inventive thinking, creativity, even in the most conventional minds. So how do you go about doing this? Very often we think innovation and creativity are big words, and not something that everybody can do. And this game will break the myth, that particular myth, and you will see plenty of inventors and innovators in your campus when you run this game. This is structured to be played as a doubles tournament, meaning you have to identify teams of 2 in your ESL members when you want to run this. And this requires very little preparation on your end, meaning in terms of printing. All you have to do is just print out some of these materials, which I'll show you in a while, and keep the materials ready. And the rules are very simple, and you will be all set to run this game. So first, as I told you, you will play this in 2s. Make it not more than 30 teams, which means it's 60 people. If you have more than 60 people, this game can become a disaster. So try it around, with 25 to 30 teams initially, and as you get comfortable running this, probably you can run to a larger audience. Probably make it 50 teams. So basically I'm saying this because it might become difficult to control the number of ideas being shared, people who want to present, and the time that will be required for every team to present. All these things are there. Right now what we are talking about is running this event within 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours. So talking about how to play, in the beginning of this game, you will be required to pick an inventor's badge. So everybody would go and pair up with with the person the same kind of badge. So if I have a badge and I go around the room and I have another person wearing a similar badge as mine, then I pair up with that twin of mine. That's how it goes. So initially you form teams, identify the people with same badges. Next, the facilitator has to announce a trigger. So the trigger would be basically the word derive. The first trigger is going to be the word derive, and you'll have 7 idea triggers, and all of them are based on the disrupt word. So disrupt has 7 letters, so you have 7 words: derive, improve, separate, repurpose, unite, personalize, transform. So each of these triggers would be announced to you, and on the basis of whatever trigger is being announced, you will perform that particular action within a certain time limit and come up with an idea on the basis of that trigger. I will give you a demo of that as well in the end of how this can be done. And you have basically only 5 minutes, and there is an object card which is picked by the facilitator and flashed to the class. And each team has to generate the maximum number of ideas with the triggers which are announced and the object card that is flashed. So when the time is up, the opponent team counts the ideas and records the score for the trigger round on the scorecard. So when you have a doubles tournament, what happens is one team generates ideas and the other team records the score. And as each trigger is announced, you can actually switch your roles as well. And the scoring is done with like 1 point for every idea that is being generated by the team. And the same drill is repeated for all the 6 other triggers. And after 7 triggers are played, and each of you each team looks at the best idea and crafts it out on the disrupt card. So the disrupt card is a card where you kind of lay out your idea, talk about what your idea is, and give the details. We'll go through it in detail in a while. And then you make a 2-minute presentation on this to the entire class. And all the disrupt cards are then pinned up on the wall, and each player casts their vote for any one best idea. You can't vote for your own team, remember that. Drawing a dot on the side of the disrupt card, you record your votes, and each vote fetches the team some 50 bonus points. So the opponent teams total the scores for all the 7 triggers, the disrupt votes if you have received any votes, and the team with the maximum points wins. So does this sound exciting? I'm sure you would be able to, most often many people might actually opt for this game than the idea competition because of the effort involved, but we nevertheless feel that you should try every single activity that we have here. Though we say you have to do minimum of 8 activities, we hope you do almost every single activity that we are suggesting under practicum. Let me take you through the rest of the things in this game kit. As I told, you will need a timer. We are not providing the timer as part of this game kit, but everything else, such as the inventor badges, 1 badge per player, and each team will have pin badges. So depending upon the number of people in your room, you will have to print those badges and make sure that there are enough badges for everybody who's playing. Have the object cards printed. There will be 20 object cards, and this is to be flashed by the facilitator. You have idea cards. You have some unlimited amount of blank sheets to jot down the ideas for every trigger round. Then we have 1 disrupt card to enter your ideas and make a final presentation. You'll be using it as a prompt when you make a final presentation. Then you have a scorecard, which is used by the opponent team for scoring. So this is a demo of the 7 idea triggers. Okay. So what can you do with 1 object, which is your scissors? Okay. So scissors is the object, and you have each of these triggers such as derive, 1 second, just hold on, I'll take you through the rest of it. Improve, separate, repurpose, unite, personalize, transform. What can you do with a scissor when each of these triggers are announced? That's left to your imagination, and on the basis of these clues, you try to generate ideas on that basis, and not just one idea, multiple ideas within 5 minutes for that particular object and this particular trigger. So that's how the whole thing goes. But one thing is, you have 5 minutes for each trigger, and you're able to bring in the most because you have 2 people playing it. So 2 minds are better than 1, and that's how this whole game builds up momentum. And end of it, you have the final score and the scorecard. The disrupt card has to explain the name of your invention, which among all these ideas that you generate, you get a chance to pick up the best idea that you think is a really cool one, and it must be serving a good purpose, and it must be serving a particular customer. So you try to go to the next level of, other than just coming up with some wacky ideas, whether these ideas will really serve a purpose. So you start your idea evaluation also as a step here. So that's how this is a very interesting, fun, exciting, and sometimes very chaotic game too. And we have some nice badges, and you could pick and choose your favorite here. You have various entrepreneurs, inventors here in the badges, and we're just trying to add in some more fun elements through this. We have heard that this is being used in creativity workshops for even some corporates. We have customized it further for Wadhwani Foundation, but the people who brainstormed with us to develop this game said that this is a very, very popular game and actually has helped develop many, many new products, and hope you will be able to do the same. Let's move on to the next one. And as I told you earlier, reserve all your questions. Please note down so that you don't forget them. Let's address each of them in the end. I can see a lot of questions about where we could get these documents, how to access these materials. We have a separate session in the end of this training, which will tell you how to access materials. All of these are available online. All of these are meant for you, so we definitely want this to reach you, and at the earliest. So we will share the links and invite you, send invites to access that on our LMS, and my colleague Smija will take you through that in the end of this program. So just another 30 minutes, I'll take you through rest of the materials and activities, and after that we'll get to how you can actually get to this stuff. I know there's a lot of information flow now, and there's plenty of things that I'm actually showing you, but actually there is, once you take some time, probably even in tomorrow itself, to go through each and every one of this, it will be most value for the time that you have spent today. Next is the Lights Camera Entrepreneur. Again, a competition. Many of you might be very familiar with this because recently we conducted it as part of the Smarty activity as well. And as a variant of the Smarty program, which was at a slightly higher level and more advanced, we have introduced this activity under the basic practicum, because video is again like a story or like a movie, an interesting medium that anybody would be interested in working in and willing to explore as well. And now we feel that, you don't need a camera, you actually just need a mobile phone with a good camera, and most of you experiment a lot with all these apps and interesting editing software that's available now free online. So we want to use some of the popular media among students to also entice them into entrepreneurship, and Lights Camera Entrepreneur has been created with that objective in mind. The objective of the activity itself is to understand the ideas, challenge and passion behind building a venture and share it as a story through a video, and also help students develop communication skills, including convincing the entrepreneur to feature in your video and working on the video as a medium. And the difference between this and what was in Smarty is, Smarty we were actually asking you to focus on more say stronger messages, more intense things such as challenges of growing your venture, and things like that. But here, what we suggest is just to make a beginning. Go meet a local regular entrepreneur. Ask him what his story is, why he started the venture, and what his journey has been. That's it. As simple as that. So we are giving you interview guidelines. We're giving you a reporting format. We give you some rules and participant guidelines and the judging criteria for the competition. Again, any event, the scale, the intensity, the complexity is all left to you. But there's plenty of this material available and you can leverage it according to the requirements of your audience. That is something you should keep in mind. Therefore, you will see a lot of generic stuff in each of this material and also specific things and tips to help you customize the event and activity. So, and we hope you will make best use of this entire framework of practicum and the materials that have been mapped into it. I'm not going to spend more time on the how-to and the guidelines for Lights Camera Entrepreneur in the light of saving some time. I'm going to move on to the next activity. Which is yet another exciting game called Entrepreneurship Jeopardy. Always any quiz game is intriguing and gets many people's attention easily. So this is a fun quiz which is structured on the basis of entrepreneurship fact testing game based on a popular US game called Jeopardy, which is like probably something similar to our Kaun Banega Entrepreneur or anything like that. Okay, and but we are looking at fun facts around entrepreneurship, trivia around entrepreneurship, and then it has multiple levels. I'll take you through the details of this game shortly. But whatever said and done, I think this is a very, very interesting game. It requires very minimal preparation from you. You have to just download these two PPTs. You have an instructor's note, which is also in the form of a PPT, and you need to know how to build in the enthusiasm. So you need a really good quiz master. That's all you need for this game. Everything else is good. So whoever among you is very, very talented in trying to create excitement in a room, somebody who's really good in comparing, somebody who's good in conversing with large crowds, somebody who is very jovial, cheerful, and enthusiastic, should actually run this activity. That's all you need. That's a prerequisite for this activity. And the objective is to reiterate entrepreneurship concepts, improve knowledge in entrepreneurship, and test awareness of entrepreneurship facts and trends among students. So this again, if you run it towards towards the end of your year or somewhere in between, after they have kind of after your ESL members have been exposed to entrepreneurship, they have run a few activities, they've participated in it, now they are interested, they want more, and they're looking for some more fun, and they're asking you for what next. I think that's when you should bring in this Entrepreneurship Jeopardy. And if you have some students who are already starting and running ventures on campus by this time, there are some levels in the game which will be very suitable only for those who already know enough about entrepreneurship. So just base level knowledge of entrepreneurship or awareness of what is happening around you may not be sufficient to win this game. So you should actually build a lot of momentum around the game, and you should do sufficient marketing as well to make sure this game is a success. Let me show you the PPT for this entrepreneurship. Let me take you through the instructor's notes first and then the game itself. This will only be a slight variation. The instructor note is more about pointers and organizing, and explains the structure of the game. Okay, so here we go. Entrepreneurship Jeopardy is based on the popular American quiz show called Jeopardy, and ours is a fun Jeopardy style quiz game relevant for student entrepreneurs. What do you need? You need the game PPT, you need a computer, you need the projector, you need a timer, you need a desk for each team, you need a buzzer, you need a scoreboard. The scoreboard could be something as a whiteboard that you set up next to the desks of the game players. You need to have some prizes to encourage people, and then the time you require to run this is 2 hours, 120 minutes. There is enough instruction on how to go about setting up the game for you. Download this, create a scoreboard, form teams, and team members can be between 4 to 6, and each team will need a buzzer, and you need somebody to monitor who is going first with the answers, who is pressing the buzzer first. So you need a smart and quick, agile organizing team. You need to assign a scorer who is also very vigilant, and then you need to clearly communicate the rules after going through the instructions on this PPT. And you can also display the sample Q&A, so they kind of get a first sense of how to go about this. And the biggest thing is, you need to get people into the mood. So if you want, you could also download the audio clip or the video clip of how this entrepreneurship, the Jeopardy game is being played. You have plenty of links to this game being played in the US on the Facebook, and also if you can look in the YouTube, you'll be able to find this. And you could run this so people get a sense of how to play this game easily. So when you have a video clip, they will be able to comprehend this easily. The how to play is here. You have to display the game board. This is part of this PPT itself. I'll show you the game board shortly. And to begin, let the team spell the word Jeopardy. The team that ends with Y will be the first team to take the first question. And subsequently what happens is, those teams who answer it correctly will get the chance to choose the next question. And every team is allowed to choose a topic and score value for a question. You decide how much to bet and how much to place on bet, right? Click on the chosen score box on the game board, and that will take you to the questions. And you will read this question aloud and allow all the teams to ring the buzzer to attempt the answer. The fastest finger gets the answer to the question. And if a team answers the question correctly, they gain those number of points which they have already chosen. And if they get it wrong, they lose those number of points. That's why you need to keep a really vigilant person for both scoring as well as for identifying who is coming up with the correct answer. And if the first team gets it wrong, and the other teams ring the buzzer to attempt an answer, meaning you give them a second chance. And if no team answers, it's a pass. And always the person with the last correct answer picks the next question. So you have 3 rounds. One round is, the first round is based on 6 topics. The questions are more at a basic level, so it's not so difficult for many people to cross this. And each topic has 5 different questions. And the questions are again in increasing levels of difficulty within this round itself, within this particular round. And the corresponding score levels range from 100 to 500. The second Entrepreneurship Jeopardy is based only on 2 different topics, and each of it has 5 questions and increasing levels of difficulty again. And the score levels range from 1000 to 5000. And then you have one final big question, the final Entrepreneurship Jeopardy question. And each team can wager an amount between 100 to their maximum score. So you put all your score on stake when you come to this round 3. And all the teams write down the wager and their answer on a piece of paper. And they get 60 seconds. The answers are read out and the scores allotted one by one. So total of the scores, and the team that earns the most points wins the Entrepreneurship Jeopardy. So this is the first round topics: technology, finance, heroes, jargon, history, buzz. You have the second Entrepreneurship Jeopardy topics here: startup concepts and business model. And then the final Entrepreneurship Jeopardy is one big difficult question. And the biggest thing is, this is your scoreboard, and the biggest thing in this game is the answers are supposed to be voiced out as questions. So you might be wondering how to do that. For example, here's this crowd sorceress, a name she received in the press for her expertise in crowdfunding. She is the founder of the firm, Van Alexandra. So this is the question. The answer should also be in the form of an answer. So who is, the contestant should answer in the form of who is or what is. So you can explain this if you want. You can play a trial round and then move on to the actual quiz itself when you run this. So we have some more sample questions here. Spencer Silver's unique adhesive had an unusual molecular structure, strong enough to cling to objects, but weak enough to allow for a temporary bond. So the answer is, what is a post-it note? I hope you got a good sense of how to run this game. Let's move to the next activity now. The next one and the last one of the basic practical activity is think inside the box. This game is structured around creativity and innovation thinking principles, and also brings in a blend of entrepreneurship concepts around how to define your product, how to market your product, how to take it to your customer, how to make it more appealing to your customer, how can you highlight your product features and benefits, and thus it kind of addresses everything around basics of product development and marketing. The duration is 2 hours for this, and this requires a little bit of preparation in terms of getting a few boxes that you will need, because even if the product is not going to be delivered in the form of a box, if it's not tangible, you'll still be expecting the participants of the game to be designing a box or a package for their product and service. We have a student handout, we'll have an organizer note. The organizer note, you have seen many organizer notes by now, so you know we'll be covering the objective, the preparation, the timeline, and how to actually make students participate in this, how to invite maximum participation, and how to make this activity a success. And often we always talk about think outside the box. Here we're talking about thinking inside the box. So that's all about the fun that you can have doing this one. And this requires, as I told, some amount of prep in collecting some materials that people will be requiring, because you'll be doing this really hands-on. You'll be required to do this activity with the material provided. So far, many other things did not require many materials to be used other than the Disrupt. This is one another game like that. And this you will have to organize the resources yourself. And what you will need for this are materials that you will find easily around you, and we will provide you the list of all that in the how-to itself. So now we are set to move to the practicum advanced programs, and as the name indicates, the intensity of the programs is much higher in this, and this is meant for people who are already inspired to be entrepreneurs, people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, and people who are already entrepreneurs as well on your campus. The first and foremost is a Smarty Challenge, which is a quarterly one. You're very, very familiar with this already. Last year we have done 6 challenges, and this year we have done 2 challenges. Every year we propose to do 6 challenges going forward. And I think the most recent one was the Lights Camera Entrepreneur, which I referred to earlier as well. This challenge is to enable experiential learning in all aspects of venture creation through live projects from corporates and startups. So each project is offered as a competition only. And so far we've received overwhelming participation in this, and we hope to keep it going that way. The next is a finance-based game, or rather I would say a next step of what you did in the $1 venture. This is called the Venture Voyage. It's a simulation game, and a simulation game that does not involve too much of technology. We don't have major software requirements to do this. All you need is to download the entire kit, which has a student kit, we have a facilitator kit, and you have a progress tracker. This is a game where a team picks up a random idea and plans to run a startup. And this is simulation, so you actually do everything that you need to do to start up, and you do this over 8 weeks, so you get in-depth knowledge about every step, but yet you're not really launching the startup. And that's how it becomes a simulation-based game. And you experience everything about starting up. Creating a business essentials checklist, identify investment, what are the regulatory tasks to be done, the marketing activities, human resource needs, what is the business plan, how to write it out. So you do each and everything. At the same time, this is kind of simplified, though it seems very complex. It's been simplified and templatized for you to run it with ease. And even for the participants, it's not very, very difficult to follow the instructions and use it. Let me take you through each of the materials that I'm talking about here. I can still see some chats that says you would like to have the slides. Yes, the slides are coming to you, the material are coming to you, everything is for you, so it's going to be there soon. So stay tuned with me and look at what's being presented. So this is the facilitator kit. First and foremost, we have the progress tracker, and this progress tracker is going to be pinned up on the softboard for one tracker for each team, and we'll be having some flags that our teams will be provided with, and you would distribute those flags for them. They're simple, cute little badges which they can pin to each of these tasks. And then during the game, you would give them very simple instructions of following exactly what is given in the template for that week. That's all. Your instructions to be provided are as simple as that. There's nothing much for you to do in this as a facilitator, though it's an advanced game, but it's more about how you ensure everybody is completing the task over each week, and also how you build the excitement around when each team completes the task assigned, and how you help them score, and also how you try to build in the spirit of competition within the activity. And this game is about giving a real feel of what it is like to start a new business or venture. That being the overall objective, bring in some more fun elements into the game should be your objective as well. So in this 8-week period, participants give their business an entity and identity, an exciting name, a logo. They create the business essential checklist. They prepare, the investment plan, identify the regulatory tasks, the marketing activities necessary, the human resource needs, how to build a team, who should be on your team, etc. And they prepare and present a business plan. So here's the week-wise plan. What is to be done every single time, and what are the materials required for each week. And each of these materials will also be downloadable for you. And the student kit is all one single document. So you don't have to give them the handout every week. It's one single kit. So you print it out, give it to them, and your role is to ensure that they turn up for every week after week. They do their sufficient work outside the class or the ECEL in terms of like the basic research that they need to do, going around finding out what their customer perspectives are and things like that. So making sure that they do their work is the biggest role as an organizer that you will play in this activity. The time allocated for every single week is also here. The breakup for each session is also provided here. The instructions for you is here, what you need to be doing. Simple 10 points, and that's it for all the 8 weeks. And end of it, we suggest you do an activity debrief. Every single activity you conduct, have an activity debrief session, a follow-up. So you know how your audience is responding to it, you get your feedback, you test their knowledge, you also are able to judge whether the objectives that you had in mind when conducting the activity are being really met. So that's one thing that we would encourage you to do on a continuous basis. And you could have the feedback sessions even to understand what next they would like to do. And that will help you determine what activity you want to run for the ECEL as well. And it's nothing wrong in keeping it open, though you identify about 8 to 10 activities and then on the basis of the audience response, you want to change the itinerary. I think it's perfectly fine. And that's what you should do. You should make sure you stay close to your customers and stay in tune with what they need. And here's the scoring key. And this is something you'll have to spend some time to understand how to allocate scores for each participating team. And for every single activity, there is some points allocated. And there's a maximum score plus some bonus points. And we have given you indication on how you could allocate some bonus points as well. And if any of you have already taken the NAN orientation course, WF NAN 100 course, there will be an entrepreneurship style quiz which we are using in that course, and we are suggesting you use that in the beginning of this course as well to help. We are back again. So I was talking about how you could use the entrepreneurship style quiz in the beginning of this activity, and the material for this is also provided there. So to form teams, we are suggesting that you assess the entrepreneurial style of each team member first. And we try to make it a little more exciting by going around to find out people who will match your personality profile and identify and convince them to become your team member first. And then you move on to pick up one single idea. And then the idea badges are available, and depending on what badge you choose, you will have to build your venture around that idea. You can't change the idea, you can't come up with your own idea. You have to build a venture for the idea that you randomly choose. That's another excitement point in this game. let me take you through the student kit now. So here's the student kit. The cover page for both are similar. So don't let that confuse you. Both start with the venture-wise progress tracker, the overview, and then the 8-week plan, the time allocated for each activity, and each of the week activities. Initially, setting up the venture. Create your entrepreneurial style quiz, profile, identify team members, find them, bring them as partners, allocate roles on the basis of this summary provided, which is an interpretation of your personality style and what role you would best excel in. And on that basis, you allocate roles within the venture for each team member. And the different styles could be maker, magician, master, mobilizer, merchant. And the styles best to collaborate with for each of these styles is also provided. So you choose your team members on the basis of this key. Then you prepare a who am I, personal profile. What are your strengths, your skills, your areas of expertise, and your weakness. And then when you meet your team members, you try to compensate for each other's weaknesses and also how to leverage your strengths and synergize. On that basis, you fill the who are we form, you allocate roles. As the CEO, CTO, CFO, marketing head, you are the founding team for the idea that is going to be chosen. Then you name your startup. On the day, before naming the startup, you decide what startup you're going to run. So your CEO will go and pick a chit in the box, and whatever he or she picks will be the business idea that your team will work with. Then you fill in this create your brand section. That week, that's it. Then the third week, you start thinking about a checklist. What are the things that you really need to start up? And that's an open checklist, and there are some clues given to you. And on the basis of understanding what these icons or pictures convey to you, you start laying out the key considerations for each aspect in the startup checklist. Next is the finance and investment plan, and we have a template for it. This might require some additional effort from you to understand some of the terminology in finance, but it's been simplified and laid out as a single checklist, and the explanation is also therein. So you would start imagining what is the exact amount of money you will require to start this business, and you will start filling in the various items listed herein, and you will have a good idea of what are the things that you really need to start this business. You also think about the investment needed, you calculate your profits, and you think about the sources of capital for the investment you need. So this is a little bit of deep thinking. So as you move into the weeks following, you start doing more complex stuff. Then you start thinking about what are the regulatory things that you should take care of, what licenses you need to run such a business, what are the compliances that you need to follow. And for this, you might want to use, the internet. You could you could actually go around talking to people who really have started such businesses. The options are all yours, and you could suggest this to your team members. There is no restrictions on how they go about finding these details. So that is also another reason we have spread it out over weeks, because not everything around this particular activity and the game could be done within the classroom itself. And it will require some amount of thinking, some amount of extra work, additional research, and therefore we suggest you convey to your participants to use this additional time given between every week of activity. And here's the regulatory requirement checklist and tasks and how to go about it. Then is the marketing and sales plan. The marketing and sales plan template is there. And again, a series of questions, simple, easy to think through. And it's always good to look at similar ventures and what they're doing and what differently would you like to do compared to them. It covers the 5 P's of marketing. And then is the human resources allocation plan. Now what you do is you first come together and think about how each of you have been performing as a team, review it, and also think about how many more things need to be done and whether each of you can already double up and do that additional role also. Remember, you're a startup, you have limited resources, and you will always have to make the best use of the founding members and founding team's time. So you start filling out this template. It talks about additional roles, how many more people you want to recruit, and who those people are going to be. It could be your own network, people who already have those skill sets, and think about how each of you are performing in the role allocated, and whether you are a driver or a neutral person to this particular role. And on that basis, if required, do not hesitate to change the roles played by the team. So the instruction that I'm giving you here and the explanation I'm giving you here is the same kind of things that you will have to do with every participant. So it may be difficult to remember each and everything that I'm saying now, but going through these materials and then thinking through what you need to do would help you do this very, very easily. So don't get overwhelmed and do not hesitate to reach out to us if you need anything. Final week is a business plan. So very, very simple template, not the complicated ones that you would see, because at this stage, students would not be ready to really do a detailed report form of business plan. So we have a simple template for you to fill in. And remember, we're giving very little space to fill in here, because any business plan and any pitch needs to be done within 3 to 8 minutes. So if you're supposed to articulate your details and your ideas within that time, you need to practice how to do that. And that's the objective of keeping this very simple and short. We cover the risk, we cover the management, we cover the opportunity, we cover the financials, and it's just a 3-page template and your business plan is done. So with this, the venture voyage materials are all covered. I will take you to the next activity, which is Investor Hunt. And this is a finance game. This is also a simulation. This is also a role play. It's kind of a hybrid. And this is a game where students get an opportunity to learn how to successfully raise money, how to pitch their ideas. And this is similar to a Shark Tank game. You must be seeing the Shark Tank program, and this is a very popular program of late. So this is like a Shark Tank-like setting where you learn investment basics and negotiate a deal to a simulated role play. So some of the people in the class would choose to become the investing team, and there'll be an entrepreneur team. So the entrepreneur team will present to the assigned investing team. And this is a little complex considering the subject matter itself, which is finance. So it's good if you run this with people who already have some exposure to entrepreneur finance already. So if they have undergone a finance workshop, they're already commerce students, they're MBA students, they understand finance jargon, or they have gone through an entrepreneur finance course on campus, or at least have some knowledge of entrepreneur finance. So that's very, very crucial to make this game successful. And the objective is to help participants get a first-hand experience in investment basics, valuation and deal structure, crafting a perfect pitch, pitching and negotiating with an investor, give them hands-on experience on that as well, and raising money successfully. So since it is actually not real money, and that's where the simulation aspect comes in. I will take you through each of these materials. You will see the longest list of materials for this game. And yes, I will not lie to you, this is a complicated game, but it can be a lot of fun if you take additional effort to understand it yourself as organizers first and bring in the most suitable audience to enjoy this game. And as the name signifies, it is an investor hunt. So the difference is they don't go through multiple rounds of presentation with investors, or they don't go seeking investment from multiple investors. You have a panel of investors assigned to them, and the investors choose to either remain as an investing firm or act as individual investors. So whichever investor agrees to fund your venture, you decide to go with them and also negotiate the terms of the deal. And when the investor is trying to get the cheapest deal, you are trying to get the best deal in terms of less financing cost and the maximum investment, whereas the investor is trying to get limited investment at maximum return. So there is conflicting interest, and that's where the negotiation and power play comes in the picture. So you have the huge array of materials listed here, and I'll take you through each of them. Investor guidelines, entrepreneur guidelines, game cards, scorecards, pitch presentation template, a valuation template, a guideline to fill the valuation template, and facilitator notes. So here you go, the long list. The game cards are very simple. It's just, the cards that you pick up on the basis of whether, as soon as the teams come in, you're supposed to choose a card, and that card will tell you whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor. So depending upon which card you choose, you decide which role you're going to be playing in the game. Yeah. So this is a game. This is an investor. This is the card, the game card, investor. And then you have an entrepreneur with the idea and the investor with the money. So it's just a simple graphic, helps you immediately understand what your role is. And then here is the facilitator note, which is the most important thing for you as an audience. Yeah. So here's the how to facilitate investor hunt game. The objectives, how long it will take to play this game, who can participate in this game, the recommended structure, and it is suggested you run this game in 2 different parts. One will be day 1 and then day 2 consecutively, or maybe with a week in between. If you give them a week, they get some time to actually think through about what the investors have offered and then come back with their own terms to the table. So in the first week, the entrepreneur team picks the idea, prepares their pitch and fills in the templates for valuation, and the investor team learns about the terms for investment. We understand like all people may not be equipped with investor terminology, so we give the teams that are playing the role of investors some time to prepare on the terms for investment, understand investment jargon, while at the same time the entrepreneur teams are working on filling their templates and presenting their idea. And put that people come into this particular game with some idea that they already are working on. Then there is a lot of passion in talking about their idea, in kind of, holding on to it and not letting go too much of their stake in it. The involvement is higher when you have your own idea. So make it a prerequisite that teams that come in should have ideas. And if there are people who want to participate but they don't have an idea, can team up with those people who already have the ideas. Then they present their pitch to the investor panel and they take home an assignment at the end of it. Entrepreneurs and investors take time to do their research on the startup's value. What is the industry's price earning ratio? And also what are the trends that are going on in the industry. So make it as real as possible. You suggest to them that they should actually do this research and come equipped so that the negotiation round also becomes lively. The second part of the game is where you have the deal structure going on. The entrepreneur team and investor team negotiate terms on the basis of the research they've done already. And the entrepreneur team tries to answer some of the questions that the investor team could have raised after they are pitching. One thing you should remember is each team is pitching to their own investor panel. So you don't have one team presenting at a time. All teams are presenting to each other at the same time. So to avoid the noise levels and things like that, you may have to have some house rules when you conduct this. Maybe you could actually spread out the teams. It's going to be done in a large hall. Ask people to keep things low, and since it's just a one-on-one interaction, it should not be too much of a trouble or chaos. But you just need to plan out a little bit to make sure you have enough seating for all these people, and structure it like a round table so that both the entrepreneur team and the investor team are seated around that and they have their negotiations going on. Even for their pitching, they could do it that way. So it's more like a meeting setup for them, and it's not something that they go up on the podium and then do their pitch. That's the difference here. The importance again is on the debrief on the second day, where their teams share their learnings and you as a facilitator wrap up the session pointing out the key learnings. Then we are talking about the resources needed by the players, your game kit. You need a laptop for this, or ask them to bring their laptops. You have details on how to run the game. Step by step, minute by minute, 10 minutes by 10 minutes, you're given different details. What you should be really giving as instructions. You could just print this out, read it out. Simple, easy, no confusion. You don't need to memorize, you don't need to think too much about what to say, how to explain. And then we have the session-wise instructions as well for both the days, and we have a debrief instruction as well. So as I scroll, you can see the different sections. For each day, the different sections, we have clear-cut, step-by-step instructions that you need to provide the participants. So just follow the facilitator's guide to the T and you will be successful in running this game. We have a scorecard that you have to give to the investor panel, and you have the guidelines for filling the templates. This is something that will require at least an hour and a half of prep time from you to go through each and every material, what needs to be given to whom, meaning the entrepreneur team has a different set of handouts and the investor team has a different set of handouts. Plus you have to give the pitch presentation template. So though they don't stand up on the podium and do it, they might want to use this for making their presentation to the investor panel. So all these things you need to pay attention to and put in best of your efforts to make this successful. If it is overwhelming, probably you need to get help of a faculty to help you do this. And if the faculty has finance knowledge, then this can be done in a much more impactful manner. Let's get to the next activity under advanced practicum. These are all a series of workshops that I'm going to talk about. We are talking about the design thinking workshop as the first thing. It's a workshop on design thinking, which is a human-centered approach to problem solving. It's a mindset and a set of values. And now it's become really, really popular, and every single person is talking about applying design thinking principles to every walk of life, and especially in corporates, be it entrepreneurs, be it customers. Everyone is aware of design thinking principles, and we feel entrepreneurs must be equipped with this, and we put together an excellent package of a design thinking workshop, and this is something that will help participants combine empathy for the context of a problem, appreciate creativity to generate solutions, and analyze the innovations and solution fit for the problem in context. Are you really solving a problem? Do you really know your customer? How much do you empathize with your customer? Are you curious to know more? Do you have an open mindset to understand what your customer needs are? And do you have imagination to fulfill those needs? And do you have the willingness to embrace uncertainty and how to prototype, test, and also embrace failure while you do all of these steps? So design thinking is a mindset, design thinking is a set of principles, and this workshop aims to teach you this. And other than to your own venture, you can apply design thinking to every single step, as I said earlier. So we have come up with a set of videos, which are concept videos, and makes this easy for any facilitator to run it. And we will be giving them materials such as the facilitator guidebook, the workshop planner, a detailed session plan, and PPTs. So this is something you will not be able to run as students yourself. You will have to bring in subject matter expertise. And for that, you might have to bring in somebody from the local region who's already into design thinking, somebody who facilitates design thinking workshops, and orient them to the materials we provide. Or dip into the resource pool that we are building. We have really committed faculty from different regions wanting to be trainers of design thinking workshops who are available. We have various other practitioners from the field, industry experts who want to lead this. So we also have some entrepreneurs who want to do this for you. So we will make a list of people you can tap into. And other than that, anybody you know in your region who can do this well has to be roped in. Your own faculty also, if they are already trained in this, will be able to run this program. This is applicable to every other workshop that we are talking about. We are offering a business modeling and business planning workshop as well, and that also runs in a similar manner. So this is a one-day workshop again, and it's a hands-on approach to creating a business model for any organization, either if it's already existing, meaning it's a startup in the early stages, or someone who's just willing to, thinking about starting up. So this will help participants to visualize and map how different aspects of the business are interconnected and drive each other. That's very key to know to make your business grow. Next is providing knowledge and skills required for the business plan. So business plan is the most used and abused word, I would say, in entrepreneurship language. But what really makes a business plan and how a business plan is actually your business model in a better articulated manner is something that participants in this workshop will derive. This also will have a facilitator guidebook, workshop planner, detailed session plan, PPTs, videos, and somebody who has already built a business plan or who has been trained to run this workshop will be the best person to do it, meaning an entrepreneur or an investor or a faculty member who has been teaching entrepreneurship and working with entrepreneurs would be the best person to run this. The next advanced practicum program is a boot camp. The boot camp is again targeting aspiring entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs, and people who just want to improve their knowledge. So we always have these three kind of audiences combined, and sometimes when we tell them it's exclusively for someone who already has an idea, you may not really fit in. We often feel that we are ignoring the person's quest to improve their knowledge, and therefore we have now designed this bootcamp in such a way that every single type of audience has a takeaway in it. Somebody who is completely new and is not able to, gain much knowledge would actually be motivated to see real entrepreneurs in action in a bootcamp, and they might gain everything that a person needs to be needing to start a venture by observing other entrepreneurs in action. You never know. So we want to keep it open, and at the same time we have structured it in such a way every single person who comes into this goes away with a clear takeaway. The focus is of taking an idea to a venture, and we help entrepreneurs to articulate and pitch their ideas and work to create an MVP and create a plan to launch a functional prototype. Like many other bootcamps, we are not saying you'll be able to launch a business. We are only saying you'll be able to launch a prototype. We're taking it step by step. We are not talking about a business model yet. We are not talking about a business plan. You attend this bootcamp, and if you're ready and if your MVP is successful, you just need to go attend the business model business plan workshop. That would be a better choice. So I have not shown you through the materials of each of this because these are all underway. We will release them shortly, and the same, these will be accessible in the same location as what all the other materials are available, and we will notify you when these are available. And also, each of these advanced practicum activities require 100% of your involvement and additional effort, and therefore we say you should be very discerning before you choose to run these. Experienced, mature results may not find it too tough to do this. They might be already doing this, but this structured way of doing things and the entire material being available is going to simplify and ease the process is our own belief at this point. Another simple thing that we'll be suggesting you do is have an Ask Me Anything town hall. This is very different from a My Story session or bringing an entrepreneur into campus and making a guest lecture on that, out of that. What I feel is you should bring an entrepreneur and allow each and every student entrepreneur in your campus and aspiring entrepreneurs in your campus to have a very, very informal town hall meeting. This is a very popular meeting kind in the US, and people say if you follow some amount of house rules about how to ask questions, when to ask, and also how to conduct yourself in this meeting, it could be extremely productive to actually go with an open canvas, because you are not asking the entrepreneur to come and deliver a very formal address. The entrepreneur is not going to share a story. The entrepreneur is just going to be there and going to answer every single question that people interested in entrepreneurship have, people who are already practicing entrepreneurship have. And for this, we'll be giving you a how-to, which will be structured similar to other how-tos, how to conduct it, steps in it, how to invite people, how to make sure the participation is good, and how to avoid any chaos. And we'll also have a student handout, which will be the guidelines for people to participate in this. So this, we suggest you should have at least 2 to 3 hours to get maximum benefit. Inviting an entrepreneur for just for half an hour and having a town hall session is not going to be fruitful. Another is the startup weekend. This suggestion is based on various hackathons that we are seeing everywhere. But this is though similar to a hackathon where within 2 days you bring in people who have ideas and who are already working on their ideas to work with experts. It's like an extension of that hackathon. It's an extension of your Ask Me Anything session, where you bring in the right expertise to help people with ideas to end up really building their working prototype. You either build your prototype or build your demo, and you're able to crystallize your thoughts and articulate your ideas and take your venture to the next level, or in fact take your idea to the next level. This is a duration of 2 days, and many times we see that this is done on a continuous fashion. And we thought about this because most hackathons are targeted at technology products. We don't want that to be exclusively for technology products, and so we want to encourage people to fast forward in their journey of creating the venture, and therefore startup weekend. Moving on to the extended programs, there are 2 key programs under this: the campus companies and the startup internships. Many of you might be already having campus companies in your campus. We have a material for how to run campus companies and how to build startup internship programs. And these are again in the similar lines of the other how-tos that I have shown you. And the objective of both these programs is to provide maximum real-world experience of running a company. Campus companies, you really run a company in a risk-free environment of your campus. Startup internships, you get into the startup, you intern for some time, and if you're toying the idea of starting on your own, you see whether you really are cut out to be an entrepreneur on your own, because you get into a startup, see its operations, work with founders, startup teams, and you are able to make a more informed decision. It's a reality check. You are able to see whether you want to do this or not. So this is how you need to position these 2 programs for your most advanced audience. So people who are really committed to entrepreneurship, people who are raring to go, people who are motivated, and people who want to learn more are the people whom you should choose for both these programs. In the how-tos, we have details of how to build a campus company program, and also how to ensure this is sustainable, successful, and the importance of documenting. So the how to start a campus company covers each of these things. How you need to find the problem, brainstorm, get formal approval on the plan from the management, form an advisory board, raise capital and other resources, do a soft launch, and market the company. Most of all the knowledge that you gather through every other program that you have done can be put to use here when you start your own campus company. And about the startup internship, it's a lot of work. If you join hands with a placement office in your campus, it can be a lot more easier for you to do it. And initially, you might be wondering whether to invite resumes from people first and then go and approach startups, or invite startups and then start sending information around asking people for resumes on campus. So it's like the chicken and egg story. You are free to start either way, but we suggest you decide what is going to be the forms of internship, start spreading the word around that your students are available for internship, and also market the program on the campus simultaneously. So do both the things in parallel, and then launch this as an ESOL initiative, identify the startups, start bringing them to campus. You could do it on weekly basis or as startup days, or run it as a startup week, and people could come over to your campus and present to your students, and students can submit their resumes. The screening of resumes and screening of startups are very, very crucial, and that's where as organizers you need to play a huge role. Conducting interviews, connecting people is easy, but whether you're able to decide the right fit between the startup and your participants is key for success of this program. So having said that, I wish you all success in conducting each of these programs wonderfully well on your campuses. And I would move on to the most asked question in this training program, how to access these materials. I invite my colleague Smija to help you through accessing this, and she would also take any other questions about deployment. Thank you.
Thanks, Aarti. So give us a minute. Okay, so on the chat box, I've been seeing a lot of questions around where do we get this content, where do I get a basic, the how to my story session available, where is the campus company document available. I see a lot of questions around the availability of these documents. So let's start from there. So I'm assuming that we all, all these participants who are here on this training program, you are all part of the core team from your ESIL, and from Wadhwani Foundation, you would all have received an access to our LMS learning platform to access the practical materials. So keeping that in mind, I'm sure there will be few people who have not gone through our platforms as well. So we'll take you through the whole process and get you an understanding on where you can access all the materials what Aarti just mentioned. You know, we went through basic set of practicum activities. We went through advanced set of practicum activities. So it was pretty long session though. However, you get all these materials at one place. So where is it? So I'm hoping that all of you are registered users on our platform called LearnWise. If not, I think that will be the first step that I would recommend all of you to do. So it is a simple URL which you can see on the screen, learnwise.nan.org. I would request all of you to please go to this URL and register yourself as a student. So if you are already registered, then the assumption here is that you are part of a faculty who is running a course on your campus. If not, you can register as a student and you can directly go to our LMS platform and access all the materials that will be available to you. For the practical materials that we are dealing with right now, from the Wadhwani Foundation office, you would have received the link which gives you access to all the practicum content that we saw just now. So I'll quickly take you through the process. So assuming that I am a student, this is the page that you will see on your screen when you type the URL learnwise.nan.org. Here the assumption is you are already registered. So I'm just using a registered user ID. So you say login. This is the next screen that you see. You get two options here, continue with web app and continue with LMS. So if you want to undergo any curriculum programs, as Aarti mentioned, like you want to undergo a course 100 or the following series of courses that we are planning to launch in the coming months, you need to click on continue with web app. For all the curriculum programs, it is very important for you to go and join a batch that your faculty is running, which all of you are familiar about. But if you as an e-leader or a core team member, you need to click on continue with LMS, okay, which will take you to our learning management platform, which is Edcast. And you will see a lot of materials lying here, out of which there is a practicum material. There's a folder by name practicum materials. So when you reach the LMS platform, you will get to see login with Wadhwani credentials. So here again, you will have to register once again and it will take you to the Edcast platform and you will see all the content available there. So first thing what you will have to do as a core team member is to go click on the practicum materials. where the option of view details would be there. Please click on view details and it will take you to the page for practicum materials. It gives you a gist of what the practicum program is all about, and you click on the learn button here on the right hand side. So this is the page where you will get all the content that we heard from Aarti. So here the folders has been designed as per what she mentioned. There is a set of basic set of activities, practicum basic and practicum advanced and practicum extended. Let's see what is under practicum basic. So these are the activities that we are recommending under practicum basic. We have What's My Story, Let's Watch a Movie, $1 Venture, Idea Box, Game 1 Ideation, Game Disrupt, Lights Camera Entrepreneur, Entrepreneurship Jeopardy, and Kaun Banega Entrepreneur. If you see on the right hand side, against each of the activities, there is a click here button. When you click there, you will get to see what the document is all about. I'll take you through one sample. So it will get downloaded onto your downloads folder. So this is the document that you will get to see once you download. This is the same document that Aarti took you through. So similarly, you will be able to access any of the documents that is listed down here under basic. The same format is being followed for advanced and extended programs. Under the advanced set of activities, you have Smarty, the Smarty challenge that we recently ran. You will get to see all the documents that we have used here and how you as an institute should be running this challenge within your campus. You will have Game 1 Venture Voyage, Game 2 Investor Hunt, Design Thinking Workshop, AMA Town Hall. The moment the content will be updated here, you will be receiving an email which says, the content is available on Edcast for you to download. So this is the page for advanced set of activities. And we also have practicum extended programs where you get to see about how to run a campus company. So again, against each of these activities, click here and you can download all the documents related to this. So as and when a pending item is getting updated, you will get an email notifying that a new content has been uploaded. And then you will be able to access it and download it and use it on your campus. So this is how the LMS has been designed. So in case now if you have any questions, you may please take the questions right now.
Okay. To begin with, I think there have been some other questions that have been captured earlier when I was already making the presentation. I'll address that, and then if there are any fresh questions, we will tackle them. These are game-specific questions that I'm seeing here. Plenty of questions around Disrupt. I guess you all have found it really attractive, and maybe that's going to be the first game you want to do, and that's not any wonder. The first question about Disrupt is, what is the trigger in Disrupt? So the trigger is like, where we want you to have a clue or something around which the idea needs to be generated. So on the basis of the model, like I already showed you, which you are seeing again here, you will be having 7 idea triggers. And the idea triggers are based on the name of the game itself, which is Disrupt, where each letter stands for a particular kind of trigger that we are talking about, and you apply that particular trigger every time. So the facilitator is derived, which is a trigger game. And then derived means you pick one interesting feature of that particular object. So for example, you have a scissor. So you pick up the interesting feature of the object that is being shown to you and you use it for something else. Similarly, when you say improve, you make the scissor better, add, subtract, modify to its feature. The next trigger is separate. So on and so forth, you try to improve this. I hope this helps you understand this. It's a combination of the trigger as well as the object card, and these are the badges. This is just to identify your team member. So you just wear this badge, go around the room, and find another person wearing the same badge. So that's how this goes. And in the disrupt card, you pick and choose one of the best ideas that you come up with, and then present to the entire class. So that leads to another question that I have to answer. They're asking someone has been asking what should be the maximum number of participants in Disrupt. As I already mentioned during the demo, you need to have not more than 25 teams, which is 25 into 2 people, which is like 50 people in the room to do this, because if you want to allow each team to present their idea, then it becomes difficult to have all the presentations in one go. And then you have to do the voting as well. So you need time for all of this. So I suggest don't have more than 50 to 60 people in the room to make this work. And where would all these activities take place? All these activities will take place on your campus. That's what you need to plan for, and you have to have it in your eCell, allocated eCell room or your auditorium, or find out large classrooms where you can hold these activities. And next is one more question on the disrupt. Should you display the triggers or the idea? Yes. So what I'm saying is you have the object cards like this. So you announce the trigger, pick up one of these objects and tell them all your ideas should be around this particular object. So your object is a trigger, and what function that trigger should perform is on the basis of whether you are in the D round or I round or S round of the game. Okay. So that's how this is done. I hope this is easy to follow now. Like, pick up the object card, pick up the trigger, announce to the teams, and then they start ideating on the basis of that. So it has to be separate is the trigger, and then which means you have to disassemble the parts and create something new out of the different parts of that particular object that has been shown to you. This is the demo card I was talking about. All 7 idea triggers have been applied to this. So the one scissor becomes a crocodile finger puppet, it becomes a milk and tea dispenser, it becomes an airplane design, it's used for cheering squad giant clappers, it's a laser optic eye check torch, school bag shoulder strap, splitting door security scanner, multiple things, ideas that one can come up with this one single object, scissors, and applying each of these 7 idea triggers. So actually different object cards different to different teams as well, or you could change your object card for every single trigger as well. It's all left to you. This amount of improvements you can make within the game. Next, a question is about the Venture Voyage game, and people have asked how would you verify the credibility of the team's claims. See, that is the role of the organizer. You have the people sit inside the classroom, work on their templates, and they are presenting the work done. On that basis, you give them the scores and the credits. So it's not done, in a random fashion. You tell them what needs to be done, they do it, and you assign scores only after they show to you what has been done. So each of these templates need to be filled. So they're not going to, get the scores without you confirming that they have done the work. And the last 2 points under the week is, one is the HR. I think I sufficiently explained it already. We may not have time to do that again. I suggest you go through it once again. The other week is the business plan activity. Again, it's very, very simple. So please go through the instructions, download the materials once you get the access. If you still have anything, please write to us and we'll be able to help you. And we'll be more than happy to help you. And then there's another question about overall categories and deployment of programs. So in practical, is it possible to run advanced programs in 3 to 4 months? We are in the 2nd semester. So one eCell has asked this, and I understand that this can be easily done. Asghar will substantiate on how to go about doing this.
Well, yes, I think definitely we'd be able to run this program, the advanced programs, in 3 to 4 months. The reason why I'm saying that is these programs have been designed, both the basic and advanced practicum, to actually suit the schedule of the campuses, which is why we have said we are giving you a menu of 18 activities, out of which you can pick and choose the ones best suited for your campus based on the kind of audience you have. For example, some of the institutes might want to run 3 basic activities and the remaining 5 activities as advanced activities. And while some of the newer campuses want to focus more on the basic programs. And these activities, what we are recommending is that at least once a month, if you can run an activity, that will be good enough. So the student can actually go through this program, get their sufficient learning, and also along with this learning, there are various other activities and events that you would be conducting to the ECEL that will actually help in the holistic development of the students. So it is definitely possible to run the advanced programs in 3 to 4 months if you plan it in a manner based on the audience that you have. And you don't have to run one, finish the basic and then advanced. It is not done serially. It has to be done based on the kind of audience you have. I'm repeating that because that is the whole thing of this approach of this practicum, right? Now, are there any other questions?
Yeah, so there were a couple of questions around, few people were unable to hear the explanation of the platforms that we are using. So I would suggest just to answer the question, we are recording this session, and this recorded version will come to all of you who have missed sessions in between. There are a couple of people who have mentioned that Aarti's sessions were also missed. So this version will come to everybody, and then you will be able to have a look at it, and please come back with questions in case there is any lack of clarity in the understanding. But just to answer the majority of the questions here that has come about the platform. So the URL that you need to use, you need to be first registered on LearnWise platform to access any of the contents that we are talking about here. And the URL for that is learnwise.nen.org. You have to go register on this. There is a mobile app version as well as a web version available for this. You can register, and then once you register, it will give you 2 options. One option is to choose your curriculum programs. Another option where it takes you directly to our LMS where all the content lies. So you have to go to the LMS platform, and there you can actually view the practicum materials, and you can also download the practicum materials from Edcast. Our LMS is Edcast, and you can download all these materials from Edcast. In case you are a new user on Edcast, you cannot directly go to the learning platform unless you are registered with LearnWise. First step is to register on LearnWise, and then it will take you to our LMS. Okay. So okay, so here is an assumption that all of you who are attending this training program are registered users. In case there are any new users, we can definitely send an email with you with a link and the process on how to register to this platform. We will be sharing it with you post this training program.
Any other questions?
No, I think we have answered almost all of it.
All right. So now we have come to the close of the session. There are no more questions. We'll kind of wrap it up quickly now. There are a couple of important announcements that are to be made. But if you do have questions, please write to us. Okay, we are going to share the recorded session latest by tomorrow. You'll have the recorded session along with the link that Smita just spoke about. Now, quickly to kind of wrap up, see, first of all, thank you very much for hearing us out patiently. And let me tell you, initially we thought there were technical glitches. But in fact, what we realized later was these are not technical glitches. The response was so overwhelming that the application that we were using, it was kind of full to the capacity, which is why more and more people could not log in, which is why we had to get into another application as well, right? So thank you for that amazing response. And I'm sure there will be more questions and more thoughts. We have the NEN regional managers with you who are going to help you implement this program. And as Mija said, we are also going to share the recorded version for you, right? The idea here, as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, is to take the ECELs to a completely different new level. All of us know that ECELs have been the most effective ways of promoting entrepreneurship on campuses, the most effective ways of creating and supporting entrepreneurs. ECEL program has been phenomenally successful. And now, having realized that, we have also realized that more effort from the Wadhwani Foundation, from NEN, has to go in developing the e-leaders, as we have developed the hundreds and thousands of faculty all these years. Faculty will play a very important role. In addition to that, we want you, the leaders, the change makers actually who make all this happen on the campus, to don the role of actually creating impact on the campus, which is why we are going to train you, handhold you. Not only that, there are a couple of other programs that we are bringing to the select e-leaders from across the country. So, I mean, this will actually help you understand the kind of thing important that we are giving to e-leaders now. Very soon, we are going to come up with a leadership conclave this year itself, where we are going to invite e-leaders from all the e-cells across the country to participate in a 2 or 3 day conclave. It could be either at Delhi or Bangalore or any other place. It would be a completely funded program. We are going to take care of all your expenses. We are going to bring you here and make you interact with some of the best resources from across the country. Plus, we are also going to have platforms where you can share your best practices, learn from each other. The idea here is to kind of, the movement that started around 10 years back about promoting entrepreneurship in academia, which was completely unheard of so far, right? Now, e-cells have actually grown into organizations that can lead this effort now. As I said in the beginning, the community is recognizing these organizations now. So we want to support you to actually take entrepreneurship to the entirely different level now. So you as e-leaders are going to play a very, very important role, and from NEN we are going to support you do that, right? Having said that, the other announcement that I want to also make is that I'm sure most of you are waiting for the e-week to happen, which normally happens in February. So I want to take this occasion to actually launch the theme for this year's e-week, right? The theme for this e-week would be ideas for change, right? The more details would follow and what categories and all that would follow very soon. So start working on that. And this conclave that I spoke about for the leadership, the e-leaders, will also happen preceding e-week, just maybe 1 or 2 days before the e-week finale that's going to happen in Bangalore, or it could be Delhi or Mumbai as such, right? So please stay tuned for more details. Before we close this session, I want to also kind of talk about what are the next steps for you. As we have been, as I said, we have been training faculty to implement these programs. So far, now we want you to take these programs, what Aarti took you through all these activities, go back to the campus and run these activities for all your students, for your e-cell members and more, right? And if you have any problem in doing that, please get in touch with your NEN regional managers, and also please write to us with your feedback. We want to make this better and better. So the immediate next step for you, which is also going to lead for your certification as e-leaders, as trainers, is to implement this program back on campuses. So the regional managers, your respective NEN regional managers are going to talk to you and take the plan from you, work with you in developing these plans and help you implement these programs, right? So thank you very much for this, staying with us and being part of this wonderful session, and stay tuned for more of such sessions that are going to come your way. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.